You've always been fine on your own. That's not a complaint. It's practically a point of pride. You don't ask for much, you don't burden people, you handle things. But somewhere along the way, I've got it became a wall. And the people who love you keep running into it, wondering why they can't get close, while you wonder why closeness always feels like something being taken from you. Today we're talking about avoidant attachment, how it got built, what it's protecting, and how to start letting people in without losing yourself in the process. My name is Michael Perry, and I'm joined today by Justin Gates. This is the new Ashla Podcast. Hello and welcome to the new Ashla Podcast. This is part 2 of a 4-part series on attachment. We went over anxious attachment before, now we're hitting the avoidance. And man, it is crazy how different these two styles of loving are, yet how similar they are underneath the surface.
As different as you and I are.
Yeah.
In that episode, we called you out. In this episode, we'll be calling me out.
Yep.
This one's misunderstood. Really, from the outside, it looks like confidence and independence and, that emotional strength. Or this guy's got great self-control, very stoic, never worried about anything. But underneath there, it's a little different, right? That story's a little different.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes even that persona can be somewhat the truth when it comes to, vulnerability in relationships. They're just so in their own world that they don't want anyone to have a peek inside.
Right. Yeah. This stuff forms when our emotional needs were just not quite met or undermet or dismissed a lot, right?
Yeah.
Or minimized. Or a big one for a lot of us, inconvenient. Your emotions are inconvenient for me, right? And that's when we start to learn this painful truth. Needing people is not the way to security and safety.
Yeah.
Because closeness comes from disappointment or leads to disappointment.
Yeah.
Because reaching out doesn't give us the comfort we need or needed. Right?
Yeah. Or we could get hurt.
Right. Yeah. But being vulnerable does not mean that we get care. So we adapt. You know what? Fuck it. I'll stop reaching. I'll stop asking. I will stop depending on you. Right?
Yeah.
But this doesn't mean that their needs are gone. Their needs are actually multiplied because they have done this for so long.
Yeah.
But needing things just is a problem. So that's really the heart of this avoidant attachment. One thing that people will say, they'll say, oh man, Justin, he doesn't care about shit. That guy doesn't give up. You know what? Right?
Yeah.
And it's not that. That's not actually true, right? People who tend to be avoidant, they do care. They just didn't survive very well by expressing that a lot, right?
Yeah. It's almost like this independence becomes an armor, this ability to keep everything to themselves. They meet their own needs. They show up in life the way they need to make things work. And there's just this quiet detachment from anyone close to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes it hard to be the partner of somebody who's very anxious. And, like Heather and I, we really had to help each other in this way. I needed to learn to be able to reassure her a lot, right, to get her through this. And she had to help me with this avoidant thing because really for a person who's anxious to be with someone who's avoidant, man, that is a rough place to be because both of those things are opposite of each other, like on the far ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's like one craves emotional intimacy so much. So in the final part of this series, we'll be talking about what's known as the anxious avoidant trap, which so many people fall into because when we are attracted to someone, it's usually because they have qualities that we don't have. It's an unconscious thing. The avoidant sees the emotional vulnerability and the ability to access these emotions in the anxious partner and they think it's so attractive. And then the anxious partner sees that quiet independence, that cool, calm collectness, and it's like, wow, I find that really attractive.
Right.
But once they get into the relationship, the avoidance, once they're in a relationship, they're afraid of losing autonomy, they're afraid of losing themselves, whether they know it or not. That is what starts making them pull away, which then makes the anxious partner be like, look at all these cues, look at all these signs, you're pulling away. And they start chasing harder, and they start pushing the avoidant away. And it's the anxious avoidant dance that is so destructive. We'll go into detail on that in the end of the series, but no, it is destructive, and it's common because there is a hyper attraction and a hyper repulsion. It's like two magnets being drawn together and then pushed violently away.
Right. Yeah. Turn the proper way. They slam into each other and then turn around and they go flying the other way. But this takes us back to the armor you talked about, that independence. It does a lot of cool things for someone like me. Right? It builds a very, very strong particular skill set. There's nothing I can't handle. There's nothing I can't figure out, right? Without a lot of support. I can recover without a lot of support. I can carry a lot of weight and a lot of pain and a lot of things because of that. But being able to survive alone is not the same as being healed. And that's where people like me, people who fall more toward the avoidant style, get in trouble. Because we get this sense of relief that, well, if I can do all these things, then I must be healed. That's the biggest trap here. The biggest trap I ever stepped into was convincing myself that I was healed in this way.
Yeah.
But I was not. But it's one of those things that's very difficult to recognize, because we don't feel shut down. We always feel pretty fine. We feel normal, right? Feel like everybody else is too needy and everybody else is annoying and emotional. And too dependent. But saying I'm fine does not mean that I'm at peace. Right? Saying I'm fine is more like distance, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big tricks with avoidant attachment, so again, anxious attachment feels an abundance of emotion, a plethora. Avoidant attachment, when emotion feels big or strong, they just repress it. They shove it down. They're able to compartmentalize it and tuck it to the back of their minds where they don't even notice it. And this can totally come across as healed, as stoic, as all these things. But it realistically takes us away from connection. It takes us away from intuition. It takes us away from so many superpowers we have intuitively, because it keeps us safe.
I remember when I first connection. It closes us off, right?
Yeah.
And from Ashla, that's a big problem for us, isn't it?
Yeah. And when you're too far on the side of avoidant, we talk about this being a scale. When you're too far on the avoidant, the minute any relationship gets too close, gets too serious, this safety mechanism kicks on, emotions lock away, and you unconsciously start chasing independence because you start feeling that fear of loss of autonomy. Again, you don't intellectualize this. You don't articulate it. But it's what your system has been trained to do. And that's the path it follows.
Strength is good. Independence is good. There's nothing wrong with these things, and there's certainly nothing wrong with being capable. Would we agree with that?
Yeah.
But strength was never meant to be this wall that closes off our heart or closes off our mind. You know, the universe doesn't ask us to be helpless. In fact, it demands that we're not.
Yeah.
It also doesn't ask us to depend on everyone blindly or everything blindly. Of course not. We need balance. We cannot abandon discernment. We must understand when this strength that we're creating and this capability that we're creating, this independence, doesn't become isolation. Because that's where it goes to, right? Our lesser selves, our lesser vibe, our lesser energy would say something like, I don't need anyone.
No.
But what it really means is I don't trust anyone to meet me where I need them.
Yeah.
Our greater self, that high vibe, hive energy, right, knows that connection is not weakness, that love is not weakness, receiving is not weakness. These are all things that are mandatory in this life, things that make us better, whether we want to believe it or not.
Yeah.
And for us at Ashley, healing does not mean you have to become dependent on us or anyone else. It just means allowing yourself to open up to relationships that are good for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What other ways does this show up?
It shows up in very obvious ways, at least for me, because I am one of these kind of people. If you were to put me in one of these little categories, I was very much in the thick of this when I first started my healing journey for one reason or the other. But I can tell you that I never thought that I was afraid of being close to people. Right?
Yeah.
For me, I was highly mature, always for my age. I was always way more mature and independent for my age than I should have been. Strength and logic and a good control and grasp and management of my ego and my emotions and things like that, right? But I never thought, you could not tell me or convince me that I was afraid of closeness, right? That I just needed space from people, or that I was uncomfortable with being vulnerable. I always thought I was a pretty vulnerable person, or that, those kinds of things, right? I never believed that I was those things, but clearly I was those things in one way or the other. And like we always say, Michael, these things are in degrees. So, we speak generally about these things because we don't know where people are at.
Yeah.
Because look, sometimes space is healthy, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes emotions can be overwhelming. Sometimes we need to step away from a conversation or slow it down because it's amping up to getting to a place where it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
But that's what we tell ourselves, us avoidant people. I just need a moment to breathe, and we'll use that as an excuse to disconnect, right? Because I don't want to be too close or too honest or too vulnerable or whatever it is.
Well, and one thing I've noticed with avoidant attachment is, especially people who aren't that emotionally in tune, is they often can have something going on internally and not have the words for it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest superpowers you can have with your anxious attachment with someone who's avoidant is being able to create that space for the avoidant to articulate what's going on with them. Though, in turn, it's also important for the avoidant to have sort of a timeline. Like, if I'm acting out of place today, by the end of the day, I will be able to sort of at least give you an idea what's going on and how it's not you that's the problem.
Yeah.
Or if it is, how you're the problem.
I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, you got to give me 10 minutes. And I'll come back in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's where I've gotten it to. Because, yes, because I deal with an anxious person, I have to have that time, and I need to show up on that time, right?
Yep.
But really, if I say, if I'm having a conversation with you and it's because you're an avoidant, I'm an avoidant, and you're an anxious, and we're having a conflict, right?
Yeah.
If I tell you, Michael, you got to give me fucking 10 minutes, bro, because you're stressing me out. I need 10 minutes to get calm myself. I better actually need 10 minutes. That actually better be the truth, right? And I better not be just doing that because I don't want to deal with you.
Right.
Because you're going to know that. I can't lie that to you. I can't hide that from you. You can't, listen, if you have people that you're dealing with who are anxious, you cannot bullshit them for long. They will find it. They'll find it in the twinkle in your eye, dude. They're really good at that, right? They're really good. So if I'm saying, bro, I need 10 minutes because you are stressing me out, right? That may be true. You might be stressing me out with all your, emotional stuff, right? And I'm like on the far side of this and going, Jesus Christ, could this guy, let a guy breathe for a minute, right? But I better actually need that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I better use that 10 minutes to do just that because, right?
Yeah. Well, I think an important distinction here is, often with avoidant attachment is we're going to feel someone's energy. We're going to feel their need for closeness, need for for that validation or reassurance. Yeah. And we end up starting to tell ourselves a story like, man, they're being irrational. Their needs are too much for me right now. They are just overwhelming. This is a character flaw. And there's a thought process we'll go on and we'll believe our thoughts as we define someone. There's this thing that happens in avoidant attachment. If you're someone who finds yourself getting in relationships and then it ends up having the separation that happens because you just lose interest, you lose connection. There's this thing that happens called splitting, where we're all in, we're doing good, and then all of a sudden our brains, as soon as we feel that threat, will switch off. And it's like, we'll start just looking at the bad of the person. We'll fall out of love. All these different things will happen that'll just make us convince ourselves that, nope, this isn't working. This isn't for me. And it actually was going really well. They just got a little too close to the inside of those walls.
Yeah. I'm going to call myself out here because I was saying a little earlier that, you couldn't convince me that this was all some kind of wound, right? Some kind of wound that caused this in me. Because, yeah, you do learn some very powerful skills, especially for this type of path that I teach, right? This path is all about regulation. It's all about emotional management. It's all about, taking responsibility, accountability for yourself. But, the avoidant person, and I would do stuff like this. I would say, you know what, Michael, you're not making any damn sense. None of this makes any sense. But what is actually happening is I don't know how to sit with what I'm feeling about what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Or if we're fighting, be like, bro, you're just being a drama queen. You're overreacting. Calm down. But what's really happening inside of me is that your emotions are making me feel responsible for something or trapped, or you're exposing a wound that I do not really in the mood for you to see, right? And I'll say to you, hey, I'm not talking about this shit with you right now, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll hope that you never come back to it, that you never bring it up, right?
Yeah.
So that's one way it shows up. Because again, you can try to BS yourselves. You can't BS those anxious guys because they know, they see it. So,
and we will circle back.
They will. Oh, she does it all the time. And you're like, damn, dude. I
was hoping this was going to fall off the radar.
Definitely, I'm definitely much different now. I think I said it in a few episodes back how, working with you came to me for healing, and you ended up helping me heal this more avoidant thing as well. You made me understand that I need to be more emotional instead of just controlling it all the time. So, but yeah, I mean, 20, 21-year-old Justin, even 25-year-old Justin when he first met Heather, dude, this was him. This was him. Because I would use my achievements as shield. I would make work become a shield for me. Everything would become a shield or an armor. I would just figure out ways, not from other people, but ways that I can create this shield and this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I don't mind calling myself out now because, when I look back at how bad I was, and remember, I spent most of my life studying philosophy and studying spirituality and studying all of these life paths and all these things and this and that. And Stoicism was a big part of that, right? My early exposure to Stoicism really enhanced this type of attachment style for me. I'm not saying Stoicism is bad for that, but you got to be careful because you definitely can become very avoidant when you're trying to heal. So,
which is ironic because a lot of Stoicism does teach about the importance of connection.
Yes, you're right. You missed the meaning of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's how all lessons are, is law of confusion is strong in this, where we will pick up information that is good, but we will filter out what we don't want to hear or don't want to incorporate.
Right. Well, and everything you try to connect to will meet you where you're at. Right? Because you're going to try to filter everything from where you're at. And that's just naturally what we do. But on the flip side of that, there's lots and lots and lots of philosophies and religions and and things that preach love at its center, and people tend to become more judgmental and less loving, right? So it meets us where we're at.
Yeah.
That's basically where it is. So
So
yeah.
So what can we do to work on this? And change it? What would you say a partner could do? Let's start there. What could a partner do to show up for their avoidant partner and work with them on healing this?
Yeah, I would say it's going to sound like a very avoidant thing to say, but and it is. It's going to sound that way, but the avoidant person needs to learn to lighten up. The avoidant person needs to open up their heart and mind. You're not always right, right? You're not always right. Stop thinking that. I used to think I was right about everything. The reason I always thought that, Michael, was because I was only considering my perspective.
Yeah.
So what is that going to create? It's going to create a giant echo. This is why I'm such against echo chambers, either inside or outside echo chambers, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you don't want to go jump off the cliff into anxious attachment. Just like in all things we talk about, we got to find a way to come towards the center. Now, one way I did that was allowing myself to open up emotionally to people that I trust. Learning to trust people is hard enough. Ironically, I've never had a problem trusting people because I'm very intuitive. I can feel a person, whether they're going to be safe or not, mostly, right? It's not like I can tell if they're, all these things. I'm not super psychic or anything, but my intuition helps me understand who I can open up to. And my problem is throttle that too much, especially with new people, right? If I meet someone for the first time, they feel safe, and intuitively, they're going to be a good fit for me, right? As a friend, as a teacher, as a student, whatever the case may be, I will throttle the amount of emotion that I allow them to see. Because I'm still trying to build that trust, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was never about losing my strength or losing my independence in doing this stuff. But it was about learning to connect without feeling like I'm disappearing.
Yeah.
Right? Learning how to be strong and open, but not favoring strength over openness. Really trying to keep the openness the more important of those two things, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I had something going on and I really could use some help, but I would never ask for it. If someone offered help and I was more like, no, I handle it, then I knew I needed to let go of that, whatever that thing was. Like with you, for example, we do a ton of things in the background of the show, just the show. That's not even talking about the Facebook stuff, all the YouTube stuff, all the website stuff. There's
The
literally
business building. Yeah.
There's literally 1,000 things we do, right?
Yeah.
And there isn't nothing that we do that I don't say, listen, I need you to do this, man. Right?
Yeah.
I don't do this whole thing where I'll handle this myself. And what's interesting is it reminds me of a time where, because you fall more in the anxious part, I fall more in the avoidant part. And I got with you and I said, listen, I need you to meet me online at this time. I need to show you how to do this, this, and this. And you were really surprised by that, right? You were really taken back by that, because it's like, and you told me, you're like, hey, I appreciate you trusting me with this. I'm like, dude, I got tons of shit to do myself. I'm not doing this by myself. I'm not doing this by myself. We're doing this stuff together, right? So
Right.
That's one way I knew that just helps me embody this more and kind of come towards the center.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that's an important thing for a lot of people who struggle with avoidant tendencies could really do, is it's like learning to ask for help, and not because you need it, but because it's good for a relationship to have people who feel like they provide to your life. Us as people who crave connection also crave the ability to help those we care for. And when you're constantly guarding everything, when you're trying to manage the weight of the world on your back and not flinch, people notice and they want to help you with it. And when you don't let them, they feel disconnected. They feel useless.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like you don't trust them with the weight of your
Right.
responsibilities.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Another way we can start to, us type of avoidant folks can start to embody a more harmonious existence with this is, when you have a rough day, say you had a rough day.
Yeah.
Simple things. You know what? That actually pissed me off, dude. That bothered me.
Yeah.
Right? Or, I don't know what to do with this. I've got this stuff going on. I don't know what to do with it. I am.
Yeah. Well, and it's so good for your partner because that communication then allows them to know, again, the anxious who's like, they're acting different today. Did I do something wrong? What's going on? And they start getting anxious until they explode with all these questions and reassurance chasing. One simple, I had a rough day today. Or even just, I need a little space tonight for myself because I went through a lot today. Again, make sure you reassure and say, not because of you or anything you've done. I just need space to regroup because I get that. A lot of people in the avoidance sphere need me time. And it's important to state that boundary and to also meet your anxious partner halfway with giving them quality time when they need it, because that's what they crave.
I know. I know. I'm much closer to the healed side of this than the other side because I'll delegate everything now. I have no problem asking anybody for help. Right.
Deal.
So yeah, but yeah.
And I think another important thing to really start refraining if you struggle with avoidant attachment is, again, there's this silent fear of losing yourself in a connection, in a relationship. And there is a grain of truth to that with any connection you have. You are who you spend your time with. But it's not a lot. Don't look at it as a loss of self. Look at it as an expansion, an evolution of who you are today. Because that's what relationships are meant to do. They're to help us understand ourselves, to have mirrors to see the good in us, and to allow us to become greater versions of who that is.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts before we jump into our exercise, affirmations, or journaling prompts?
Avoidant attachment is not an absence of love. It's not an absence of need or want or desire. And it's not, I don't want you guys to keep lying to yourselves out there. If you were like me, that believing that this is emotional strength in its purest form, I'm a super, super stoic and wise and all this stuff, right? It's just something that we need to tend to, because at some point in our lives, being close to people was not reliable. Or that opening up came with too much risk because we kept getting smacked down or rejected or let down, right? So we adapted. Yeah. So we said, you know what? We don't need anybody. We become the capable ones. It's like that Miley Cyrus song. I can buy myself flowers and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
That is like the theme song for the avoidant attachment person. I can, but at some point that armor that protected you isolates you. And isolation is kind of the worst case scenario here for someone like this, right? I would be willing to bet that most, if not all, isolated people are who isolate by choice are in this, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're not trying to call you out, but we're just trying to get you to understand, to at least notice why you're pulling away from people when they get close, or why you will use logic to avoid feelings, right?
Yeah.
Or why another human being's very normal need to be connected to you feels like pressure or feels like, something wrong. We want you to notice when the I'm fines don't actually mean I'm fine, when they mean I don't know how to be like this, right? I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to whatever. If you're saying I'm fine and it's really these other things, we want you to notice that. If you're like me, if you were like me in this way, letting people close doesn't mean you're becoming weak. or you're becoming emotional, or you're actually giving yourself what you've needed all along.
Yeah.
Right? That's the big part here. Now, that doesn't mean you abandoned your boundaries, but maybe reevaluate those boundaries if those boundaries keep everyone away. you know, maybe reevaluate those. I had to. You have to learn to be strong and open. You have to be strong enough to stand on your own, but open enough to actually receive the love that you've been begging for your whole life. Strong enough to have boundaries, but also open enough, again, to let someone in.
Yeah.
Strong enough to survive on your own if you have to, but open enough to admit that you were never meant to live disconnected.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, if this episode resonated with you, you know, take a moment to evaluate where you're at. And if you really do need to start moving towards being more open, towards, you know, configuring your boundaries to let some people in. You don't have to let everybody in, but let some people in, because there are people for all of us out there. I promise you. And for God's sake, don't isolate yourself. If you're getting to the point where you're isolated, you need to go talk to some people, talk to someone, because eventually that can lead to something, you know, very dangerous consequences, right? So that's where I'll leave it with today.
Beautiful. For our affirmations today, I am strong enough to ask for help. Letting people in doesn't mean losing myself. My needs are not a burden. They are a part of being human. I can be close to someone and still be whole. I am learning that vulnerability is not weakness. It's the door to everything I actually want. For our journaling prompts today, when did you first learn that needing people wasn't safe? What happened? And what did you decide about yourself or others because of it? Is there something you've been handling alone that you could let someone else into, even partially? And if you struggle with that, what stops you? And then what would it mean for your life if being close to someone didn't require giving something up? What might become possible? For exercise, this one is called One True Thing. Think of someone in your life you trust even a little. This week, tell them one true thing, something real about how you're feeling and what you're struggling with, or what you actually need. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be true. Something you'd normally handle alone or not mention at all. Say it out loud and say it to someone you trust. Then notice what happens in them and in you. Thank you so much for joining us today. If this episode resonated with you, we'll have a study guide below, an episode guide below to help you work through this and just sort of go through exercises to help you dig deeper into it. It'll also have the exercise, the affirmations, and the journaling prompts. If you think this episode could help someone you know who's in one of these relationships, whether they're the avoidant or they have a partner who is, this might help them. So share it along. Follow us on all the channels, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, YouTube.
NewAshla.com.
Spotify. NewAshla.com. Greatest website ever. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ad Lucem.